Hello and welcome to podcast number 27. This is Naturally Scott. I'm Scott Harris, and today my guest is Cherryl Connally, who is president and owner, and at 12 years old in 1968, was one of the founders of Island Packers. This is really a special one for me. Island Packers is a fleet of ships based in Ventura, California, and they have a huge relationship with Channel Islands National Park, and they take guests and naturalists and scientists and birders and whale watchers and campers and animal and fauna and flora enthusiasts out to 5 different Channel Islands in the national park. They also go out for trips for birding and whale watching. It's really terrific. Cheryl's family founded the company. Cherryl still owns it and runs it and is excited about some of the stuff that they're doing. She talks about the trips that they do, what you can expect to see on the different islands, some of the experiences they've had over the decades that they've run this company. She is a charming guest, and I think you will enjoy the podcast. So let's get right into it. Let me introduce you to Cherryl Connally. Enjoy the podcast and the field notes after, which is going to be about island foxes, which we'll learn a little bit during this podcast. Man, have a great day. Stay safe, stay curious, enjoy the podcast. Hello and welcome to this edition of Naturally Scott. I'm Scott Harris. We've got a great podcast lined up for you. This one brings me back a little bit to my childhood, my boyhood. I'm looking forward to talking to Cherryl about that. This is Cherryl Connally. I believe the title is President, CEO of Island Packers.
Yeah, you call me that, owner.
Okay, that's what I'll call you. We're going to talk about Island Packers. We're going to talk about the Santa Barbara Channel. We're going to talk about the Channel Islands, and we're going to talk about Cherryl. So I'm looking forward to doing all of this. And Cherryl, maybe you can start, if you would. Give us a little history of Island Packers. I know it's a family business, started quite a while ago, and now you're running it. So bring the audience up to date on where you are and what you do and how the family got started.
Well, Packers started in 1968. My father, we live in Los Angeles and in the 60s, and my father was a designing engineer. Worked really hard, but he knew that living in LA wasn't the place to be, so he wanted to relocate. We backpacked in the mountains in the High Sierras as kids in LA, and we're very avid nature lovers. And he decided that we should do a pack mule station in the High Sierras. But when we changed the plan to move to the beach, Oxnard Shores, that changed everything. So we moved to the beach, fell in love with the islands, explored them in private boats and with friends, and had this great idea how fun it would be to take people out to the islands instead of backpacking on mules in the High Sierras. How about backpacking people to the Channel Island?
And started that in 1972?
1968.
No, 1960. I'm sorry. 1972 was the first year I went out on Island Packers. I was in high school, and I was taking, you might even remember the name, I was taking a scuba diving class with Bill Brisby. Bill was a professor out at Moore Park College and taught marine biology and started the exotic animal training management program and was really a mentor of mine. And we used Island Packers more than once to go on out to the islands and do a little scuba diving. So I guess just 4 years after you started, which is great. And and I most recently was on an Island Packers boat in April. Went out to Santa Cruz for a book I was working on to see the island foxes and the scrub jays, and had a blast as I always have when I've taken your boats out. So let's back up. Well, in 1968, you started with a single boat?
Yeah, well, my dad came home with this ugly old fishing boat and said, let's fix it up and start taking people to the islands. We borrowed the money from everybody we knew and decided to give it a try. So we christened it on Mother's Day in 1968. And in gale winds, there's that picture that later you'll see is all of us there in a bad day, putting the boat in the water. We started taking people out. Basically, we rowed you ashore on Anacapa Island. The only place we could go at that time was a national monument. So we did half-day trips and school trips, educational floating classroom boat rides, and landing on a beach on Anacapa. It was very minimal operation, but we tried to survive. And so it was just my brothers and I and a captain my father hired, and my dad was the PR guy. Now that's my position pretty much, is the public relations.
Okay.
So we ran that and then built a relationship with Dr. Stanton on Santa Cruz Island. He owned 3/4 of the island from the west end of Santa Cruz to Prisoners Harbor. So my dad got a good relationship with him, and we opened up a Polynesian village on the south side of Santa Cruz called Albert's Anchorage. And they built it, and we were the transportation to put you ashore. It was a dive camp. It was really fun. I was only 12 years old. It was a lot of fun to go out there, put people ashore, and it's quite adventurous. They had an amphibious duck that would put you ashore in and go right through the surf onto the beach and stay in these little grass huts. And that had everything set up for you. It was really fun for the people. And it's a dive camp. Well, that ended after a year. Landslide fell on one of the huts, so they tore it down. We volunteered to take the debris off of the island. And so on the way home in December 1969, our boat came home, broke down with all this on board and couldn't be saved in a very bad gale storm. We had 2 crew on board. They were saved, but the boat sank at Anacapa. So we pretty much were ready to go out of business in 1969. But instead, we sold our home and I rented a place in Ohio and started over because we just couldn't see going, owing all of our friends in debt. We always wanted to start over, didn't want to give it up. So my dad leased a boat, a dive boat, and we started taking bow hunters to Santa Cruz Island with Dr. Stanton's agreement back and forth because that was a ranch where people could go hunting. And so we did that for a few years with the Paisano and continued on and then started buying other vessels from there and slowly grew.
What were the hunters going after?
Sheep and pigs, wild boar.
Okay. Okay.
Yep,
And
I was the galley girl.
do they still hunt today?
No, that all ended when Dr. Stanton sold the land to the Nature Conservancy. They removed all the sheep and pigs off of the island. It was also a cattle ranch on that end. And then East Santa Cruz Island, Scorpion Anchorage was a sheep ranch. And Dr. Stanton owned 3/4 of the island, and the Greeny family owned the eastern tip. And my father worked on a relationship with the Greenies and started taking day visitors and people to stay in the B&B on the island at East Santa Cruz when it was private. So there's a lot of things we tried to do to survive: diving, fishing, whatever we could do with vessels. We kept buying vessels, leasing vessels, not buying them. We couldn't really afford them. It took us a long time to get out of debt from the Island Packer because it wasn't covered by our insurance. So we had no passengers on board. So our insurance didn't go through. So we were in debt for a long time and struggled. And the economy was hard for many years. Tourism really grew in the late 80s. It started finally, things changed in our area here where business grew for all the businesses in the harbors. It's always harder to survive in a harbor as a
Yeah.
business owner.
But it sounds like you're doing better now.
Oh, we're great. Yeah, we're way good. Yeah, everything is so different. You
Well,
know,
congratulations. Let's go back again. Talk to the audience about the islands. A lot of the people here, this is not a very well-known national park, and the islands, although, and you've said this 1,000 times, I'm sure, in your career, is just a few miles away from 12 million people, most of whom have never been. So give us a bit of a history of the islands and then how those became a national park, and then your relationship with the National Park Service.
well, in 1980, well, before then, the Anacapa and Santa Barbara Island were national monuments. Those are the only 2 islands we could go to. So we worked with Dr. Stanton and then had all sorts of different kinds of trips that we tried to run. We ran from different locations. So once we expanded and were able to have more boats at our location, we had schooners going to the islands, but we would just go to Anacapa Island, Santa Barbara Island for diving, fishing, birding trips, whatever we could do. And when it became a national park in 1980, that opened Pandora's box where we could do lots of more trips to the islands. So we expanded more as time went on with more vessels running to the islands and landing ashore. So Anacapa and Santa Cruz Island, Santa Rosa Island, San Miguel became national parks. So that opened up. And when Scorpion opened up in 1980, that also helped us. The Greeny family sold to the park, and that opened a big revenue for our company, more interest for people because it's such an easy place for people to enjoy, whether you want to do a hard hike or a moderate hike or just go to the beach or camp. Everybody loves East Santa Cruz Scorpion. We never thought it would be so popular, but it really is. My dad helped get that going, and having that get rid of all the old sheep era there, was a sheep ranch. So it was pretty worn down in the 80s. So they fixed it up at crew and everybody went out there and worked hard to open it up. So Scorpion Anchorage is the cat's meow. It is the place people really enjoy. But all the islands are unique and special. So we have had the whales that have been continuing to be more and more sightings of the whales in our channel. We have a great
What kind of
resource,
whales? What can people what can
humpback
people
whales,
humpback?
humpback and blue whales in the summer from May through September. Maybe 15, 18 years ago, the waters became more protected with having this Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. The waters around the islands, I truly believe, have created more food for the mammals in the water, and we have lots of sightings. Our sightings are huge out there, and that's a highlight of the day, is to see thousands of dolphins or a whale. Just today, I was talking to the captain. She said, "I can't talk. I got a whale breaching in front of the boat." It's just exciting to have these sightings, and the people, it makes such memories for them to see something like that in the wild, especially thousands of dolphins around our vessels, dancing off our bow of our vessels.
And what kind of you get common dolphins, you get bottlenose, what do you get?
The most popular are the common dolphins. There's thousands of them every day. I think they know our boats when we get in mid-channel. They just show up like little puppy dogs and want to play. It's so enlightening to see people get out of their seats, bored, kind of waiting for something to happen. All of a sudden, you got dolphins around the boat. So the common dolphins are most popular. Then there's the bottlenose dolphins, and then the Riso dolphins, which or a toothed whale, but they've been showing up a lot more too because there's a lot of food in the water. So we've
And
got
they're a lot
variety.
larger than the common and the bottlenose, aren't they? The Risos?
Yes. Yeah, oh, yeah, they're
Okay.
quite larger. Yeah, you see them a lot along the coast here too, the bottlenose surf in the surf, feeding
Okay.
off of the surf shoreline. But it's our sightings are cited every day and put on our website so people can watch it and see what we see. So we just had orcas a couple days ago. Now
I
that's
was gonna
very
say, you
unusual.
you get pods of orcas coming through, right?
Yep, we do. Usually
Are
when
they
the gray
resident
whales,
pods or transient pods?
they're usually transient. Most of the time, the transient pods. Yes,
And are they hunting the seals and the sea lions and
they are. They're here for
okay.
that reason. They're here for the food. And it's funny. All of a sudden, you don't see a dolphin in sight. Where are the dolphins? It's because the orcas are in town.
I was just up a couple months ago in Alaska, and I was talking to their equivalent of your company that I was out with for a day, and he was saying that the resident orcas don't eat the marine mammals. And so you'll see the orcas swimming, and you'll see the dorsal fin, and then you'll see stellar sea lions and harbor
Mhm.
seals as comfortable and happy as can
Yep.
be. But there's a transient pod that comes through. And when that transient pod comes through, all of the seals and sea lions take to the shore because the
Yep.
transient pod makes their living hunting marine mammals. And different pods around the world have different hunting styles.
Exactly.
And so I imagine when they see those dorsal fins or when the scouts see them, it's kind of time to head away and go find a safe place. What
Yeah, they
what
have names for them. They actually tag them and have names for each of the whales. I identify them. There's a huge program with the with NOAA that they track all the marine sightings and keep record of everything. It's pretty neat.
Okay, now I had Ted Sheesman on recently as a guest. He is the founder of Happy Whale.
Yes, yes. I was just gonna bring that up. Yeah.
Yep, and so they identify. And last year when I was with you guys in April, and then I was up in Monterey over Christmas, and then Alaska recently, I was able to get some fluke shots at all three places of humpbacks. And so they were able to identify all of them, which I'm thrilled about. And by the way, if you're watching this or you're listening, go back and listen to the Ted Cheeseman podcast if you like whales, because it's really cool to hear what he has to do. Now, Cheryl, you mentioned that when the islands became national parks in 1980, and I remember when that happened. As a matter of fact, shortly after that, I was on the board of Friends of Channel Islands National Park. I don't even
Mhm.
know if that organization still exists, but in the 80s it did, and I was on the board. But you mentioned that opened doors for you. That almost seems counterintuitive. You get the federal government involved, but it wouldn't seem to be a public partner private partnership, but it sounds like it was. How did that manifest itself?
Well, we first became a 2-year contract with the park service here, visitors Channel Islands National Park headquarters there. So it was a 2-year contract, and we were promising we could do everything they wanted us to do. But basically, we were going to the islands before they were even involved, and so that was a no brainer for us to help and protect the park and educate people about the islands. We've always taken the people on the island and did the hikes and everything. So now we have a much stronger relationship with them, and we've built a 10-year contract. And this we just got a new contract last year, January 1 of 2024, for 10 years,
Congratulations.
which every 10 years it's a challenge. They want more and more from us and asking us to do more. And a lot of it's environmental, a lot of it's, to protect the islands. They're just, we have to step up and for the visitor. It's a lot of it's for the visitor. So, so that,
And you're Go ahead, please.
So the national park contract is a challenge every 10 years, and we could have not gotten it, but because we've built a good business where our staff they love their job. We take good care of them. They're educated on how to tell the people about the islands, and it's so important that all of that interpretation is correct for the visitor. Just word of mouth, getting these people out and having fun. But the islands, because of the protection of the islands, because they haven't changed them, because they're pristine and not like Catalina. People enjoy coming to a national park on the ocean and go on an island and see it's still at its natural state and protected. And then they get to enjoy it the way they like, hiking and camping and kayaking. So all that has just opened up more interest, and word of mouth is the best business we could ever have and return customers. But the park service, we have a really good relationship with them. It's important that we communicate and we have meetings with them and follow their guidelines, as well as listen to our needs. And so we have I think one of the better relationships with national parks is this national park and Island Packers. But we have volunteers that grew years ago. They started that program where the volunteers, people who want to come out. A lot of them are retired or just want to help out, and they're trained to educate people on the ocean, on the marine life of the whales and the dolphins and the Channel Islands. So we have naturalists on the islands. Unfortunately, with the government shutdown right now, we don't have them, and we're really missing them. It's been
Yeah.
really hard not having them this last month. So we hope soon that will change.
For a lot of people, that's important. And you are, for those who don't know, you are walking distance from Channel Islands National Park headquarters,
Yes,
right? I
yes.
mean, you're right there. If you haven't been to Ventura Harbor, they're just a couple hundred yards away.
We
It's
used to
across
be
a
right
nice
next
open,
door.
yeah, it's a nice open grass walk, and you're walking along the harbor, and there you are at the headquarters. So when you went for that contract a year and a half ago, were you competing with somebody else? Was there somebody that came in and said, "We want to take it over now, and it's our turn"?
Yes, when usually it's every other application, but this year, as well as 10 years ago, it was an open bid. Anybody could take the business and run, and we would basically have all these boats and not be able to do the island trip. So it was a blessing that we did get it. We worked very hard. My fleet manager partner, basically Alex Brody, and my managers all worked hard on this contract. But we did have someone that bid against us. We were told we would have someone bid against us, but I don't know. This business is a hard one to run. I don't think anybody would want to really apply, but you have to be open minded and give it all your best, because you don't know. You just
Well,
don't know.
the moment you take it for granted, you
Yep,
get a
we
you get a
never
rough
have.
letter in the mail.
And we were surprised, that someone did, but we were also very happy that we got the contract. It was a celebration.
Well, that's great. Congratulations. And I hope you enjoy the next 8.5 years before you have to go through it again. So there are 8 islands in the Channel Islands.
There are. We only go to 5.
Okay. And how many make up the national park?
Anacapa, Santa Cruz, Santa Rosa, San Miguel, and Santa Barbara Island. Those are the
Oh,
national parks.
okay. So walk me through the 5 that you go to and tell me about the different, Santa Cruz, you can go out for a couple of hours or a half day or whatever it is.
Okay.
So tell me each of the islands, what would be the primary reason that I would go to one island instead of another?
Well, I could talk till I'm blue about how each island is unique and special, that there's kind of hard to favor one over the other, but
Well, you're
everybody
already
loves
wearing blue, so you're close. You can
everyone loves Santa Cruz Island, and because it's so versatile, there's so many different things to do. But honestly, I think Anacapa, for years, we would try and encourage people to come to Anacapa. However, Anacapa is difficult to land on, and a lot of conditions can cause us not to get ashore. So it's like you have to be available to accept not going on the island. and it's small. So Anacapa is only it's 3 islands. We land on the eastern tip. It's a half a mile wide and 3/4 mile long, and it's all sheer cliffs. And that island has a little bit of everything. It has the shoreline, the sea cliffs, the sea caves. It's just a beautiful island. Lots of birds and seals and sea lions. A small island, half a mile wide and 3/4 mile long. It's a mile and a half hike on East Anacapa, and you're on the island from like 9:30 to 4:30. You're ashore, it's an hour boat ride, so you're ashore 11 to 3:30, and that's a long time to be on an island. So most people would go there in the old days to kayak and snorkel. It's a little more difficult to do that nowadays with the new pier they built. So most people just go for a hike and then come home. So we have shoreline cruises of that island, which is very popular. It's a 3.5 hour trip that runs quite often from Oxnard Harbor and sometimes Ventura. And you can hop on a boat and see the island, do everything except get ashore or
But you
go
stay
ashore.
on the boat. Sure.
Uh-huh.
And let me interrupt you for 1 second. You have drifted off to your right and off camera. If I could get you to move left just a little bit. There we go. Now we get the
Oh,
whole you. Now we get the whole you.
I
Okay,
was
so
leaning on my chair.
there you go. That's Anacapa, which is a great island, by the way. I mean, I've been scuba diving there for, I dove there for 40 years and
Yes.
absolutely love the island. And we used to sail out there, and we also sailed to Santa Cruz. And my son and I used to take our jet skis out to both the islands. We
We
would,
always get mad at those people. What are they
yeah,
doing out here?
yeah. There were some interesting discussions we had with the park rangers, but I mean, we were GPSed up and we had 3 days worth of food and we were
Knew what
warm
you were
packed.
doing.
We
Yeah.
knew, well, as much as I think you can. It wasn't just two clowns that rented them for $50 an hour and took off. But
Yeah.
you kind of had to explain that. Otherwise, all you got were major eye rolls from the park rangers. Okay, so we go from Anna Cruz. Let's go over to Santa Cruz. From Anacapa to Santa Cruz.
Yeah. So Santa Cruz is the largest of the 5 islands. It's the eastern tip is Scorpion Anchorage, and mid Santa Cruz is Prisoners Harbor. So from Prisoners to Scorpion, that basically is national park land, and we take people daily, every day, to that area, to Scorpion Anchorage. People enjoy going ashore and have a nice pier, and there's a rocky beach where snorkeling is amazing there. It's a sanctuary, so it's protected. You can see a lot of fish if you're diving or snorkeling. Then the hiking trails, there's over 15 miles of trails that you can enjoy. If you're a day visitor, you could do like a 5 mile hike that's breathtaking along the coastal cliffs of the island, but it's moderately hard. Or you can just go up in the canyon and do an easy hike and try and schedule a shorter day with Island Packers, so you're not on the island from 10 o'clock till 4. I mean, you basically have a nice long day on an island, and it goes fast, but if you don't hike, you may want to choose something shorter. But East Santa Cruz is popular for the sea caves. So there's a kayaking company that has a contract with the park to take you kayaking off of the island, planned ahead. You can go out kayaking in these beautiful sea caves and be very, very adventurous and safe with the guide with you. And it's highly recommended. They do a great job. Or you can bring your own kayak on our boat. A small fee to put it on our vessel. We put it on the beach for you, and then it's there all day. It has to be a real simple kayak, can't be something fancy. Or you can rent a kayak from the mainland and take it out with you from Channel Islands Kayak Center. Or if you do a tour, it's Channel Island Adventure Company. So there's two different companies. One's a rental company that's from the mainland for kayaks. The other one is a tour from the island that you pre-plan.
Okay.
Highly recommend. And then there's camping. Camping is most popular there. It's so easy. Everybody brings everything but the kitchen sink. We wish they wouldn't. We want you to have the backpacking adventure, not make it where you're bringing everything in and out, making it hard on us, because we can't put all that stuff on the boat, then put it on the pier, and then put it back on the boat and bring it home. So gear is really a serious thing to pack light. Backpacking is the whole idea. Water's in the canyon there for you, which we have no water in Anacapa. So camping on Anacapa is there's no protection out of the weather, but at Santa Cruz, you got a canyon there where you can get in the forest and camp where there's water. And of course, we got these little boxes that are called fox boxes to keep your food from the foxes taking your food or your sweaters or jackets, things like that.
And tell the audience about the foxes. They're endemic to the island, and they're about the size of a house cat. I'll throw a picture up. I saw some when I was there in April, and I got a couple of shots. But tell the audience a little bit about the endemic animals that are on Santa Cruz has the jays and it has the foxes.
Yeah, what's nice is, there's nothing out there that's dangerous, there's nothing that's gonna hurt you. Foxes aren't gonna bother you if you just leave them alone, they have, the foxes,
Yeah.
they have the spotted skunk, out there at Santa Cruz Island, and each of the islands have their own fox, only raised on that island, bred on that island. So, we had a extinction of the foxes, when we had the droughts and the golden eagles were on the islands. They definitely affected the numbers of the foxes on the island. So we had most of them were depleted, and they rebred them on each island. Now we have many foxes, and they just wait for us to arrive at the island to know what's for lunch. But you're not supposed to feed them.
Are they
They're nice. They don't live very long. They live, I believe 12 years, but, they are out there cruising around in the campgrounds and the trees and bushes. And then we've got the, Santa Cruz Island scrub jay, beautiful jay, just a beautiful bird, and people come from all around the world to see that jay on our trips. So that's a highlight.
well, it's endemic. It's the smallest endemic area in the United States. And
Exactly.
oddly enough, the bird doesn't ever leave the island. It doesn't fly the 3 miles over to Anacapa or anything. It's
No.
just stays there. It's an
Yes.
amazing thing to watch.
Yes. Then we have the brown pelicans, the California brown pelicans on Anacapa that breed, and then this western seagulls, their third largest colony in the world, are on Anacapa. Lots of birds. So yeah, we have a lot of marine birds. We get birders on all of our trips. We have special birding trips, and then you can go out on our trip to Santa Cruz. Most people go to Prisoners to see the jay, but even now the jay is more visible at Scorpion. So it's an easy trip for someone who has that on their checkoff list for birding.
Yeah, and a lot of people do. I am a birder, so I find
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
lot of people do that, and you get a lot of birds on the way out and on the way back.
Yes, and the last few years, we've had the, sightings of the brown-footed and blue-footed booby on Anacapa and sometimes Santa Cruz Islands. The birders love that. That's just a really
Mhm.
special thing. I mean, they all the way from the Galapagos. We're getting birds from the Galapagos. That's
You know what?
amazing.
You might save me a trip. We're scheduled to go to the Galapagos in September, but maybe I can save a couple bucks and just go back out to
There you
Anacapa
go. I don't know, I'd love
and
to go to the Galapagos. I think it'd be fun.
well, I'm excited about going. I really am. All right, what's next? What's our next island after Santa Cruz?
Well, so I talked about Scorpion, but in Prisoners Harbor is a national park from Prisoners up to the west to the east end of Scorpion. So people that want to go camping not at Scorpion but want to camp somewhere different, you can camp at Prisoners Harbor. It's about a 4 mile hike up to the top of the bluff. And there's a real nice primitive backcountry campground there for people. So that's very popular. And then there's island workers that work inland on Santa Cruz Island there. That was originally owned by Dr. Stanton. So now that's a ranch with the Nature Conservancy manages the ranch. We have people, our crew take you on an amazing hike at Prisoners Harbor to the western part of the island, or the northern end, if you want to say so. But it's a 5 mile round trip hike to Pelican Bay and back, and it's beautiful. It's the prettiest native plant hike you could ever have. So you got East Santa Cruz, it's just rolling hills and grasslands. Prisoners Harbor, mid Santa Cruz to the west end of the island is more plants and foliage and trees. It's very thick with, if you saw our website, you could see what a difference. I would rather go to Prisoners, it's so pretty, but the hike is very hard. But people go there and either do our day hike or they camp at Del Norte campground. And a lot of the time they'll stay a night at Del Norte and then hike with their water, because there's no water at Prisoners Harbor. That's the disadvantage. It's no water wells available for the public. So you can hike from the Del Norte campground all the way to Scorpion. That's another 9-10 miles to arrive at Scorpion, stay a night there, replenish your water, and have a nice camp at Scorpion too. So you could see all of Santa Cruz almost if you wanted to, if you're a really good backpacker. So that's another highlight. And then we have on the west end of Santa Cruz Island is the Painted Cave, the third largest cave on any island in the world. And we take our big old catamaran in there. So we have a special trip now that is quite popular that we added a few years back, that you go out to the Painted Cave, go in it with our big vessel, the 65-foot boat goes in there and you come out of it. It's this huge, a huge cave, big as my office. and then come back down to the beach, cruise the shoreline of the island so you get to see all the western tip of Santa Cruz, and then put you ashore for about 2 hours. More for people who just want to have a little beach time, but not do any hiking. Or if you want to hike, you have time for a couple miles hike along the Pelican Bay Trail and back.
And that was the trip I did in April. I've hiked the island dozens of times and I wanted to get back to the cave. And so I went to the cave, and I had the experience once when we took our own boat out, private boat, and went out and went to the cave. We went in the cave, much smaller boat, just 24-foot
That's
boat.
fun.
But when we came out, there was a blue whale.
Wow.
And it was one of the more magical things I have ever seen. And by the way, if you ever really want to understand what a 100-foot blue whale looks like, get 50 feet away from it in a 24-foot boat. That will definitely wake you up. And,
Yeah, they're big.
Fortunately, of course, the whale had no interest
Well,
in
that was
us.
a good luck day. That's a sign of good luck.
I
Scott.
would say so. I would say so. So that was that was a magical day. So when I went out with you and we went into the cave and then we went back and spent a couple hours there and got some shots of the foxes and the jays, and I'd seen them before and got those shots before, but I wanted to reinforce it. And so
Yeah,
I
and
strongly
so
recommend I strongly recommend it. Okay, take us to another island.
okay,
You
and one more
mentioned
thing
you
before I leave Santa Cruz. On the backside is
See, this
Forties,
is the
and
problem with Santa Cruz. You could do
it's
the
so
whole
big.
show on Santa Cruz.
Yeah, so Nature Conservancy has given us permission to take you to certain places that are unique that you would, if you were a private boater, you would do, but and you can't get there. So we take you to Cuevo Valdez or Forties Harbor on special trips. So those are really fun too, and it's pretty much a beach day. Anchors, there's like these nice little places that we anchor and put you ashore in small boats onto the island. So those are an addition to what we have, because we have so many times people want something new and different. But for
Right.
the next island, that would be the third island, second largest of all five is Santa Rosa Island. Miles of white virgin sandy beaches, just a beautiful, beautiful place. The shoreline has high sea cliffs that look like the Grand Canyon. It just layers of sediment of rock that's just a beautiful, beautiful sandstone. The only thing about Santa Rosa is usually blowing very hard, and you got to be an ocean person. It is a 2.5 to 3 hour boat ride, but you do get to see all the backside of Santa Cruz on the way over. So that's a nice little cruise that you wouldn't normally see. And then we go to the island and anchor in Betcher's Bay. A big pier is there. It was a cattle ranch in the 80s when it was privately owned. So that's all gone. The elk and deer and cattle are gone, but we have a national park that we can take you to. That's an old ranch era, and it's beautiful. Just a great place to hike, but you only get about 3 hours ashore, so you want to do the best you can with choose a hike that you'd like to do. Either the Torrey Pine Forest, which is beautiful, 5 miles hard hike up to the pine trees that overlooks the whole coast of the island. It's just very nice, but very rugged hike. Or Cherry Canyon, if you go in the spring, the flowers are phenomenal. That island has the most beautiful flower blooms besides Prisoners Harbor, Santa Cruz, and Anacapa for flowers. Mid-March through spring, we have flowers. Even at Rosa, they last till even May. And you hike this canyon of just island paintbrush, lupin, just beautiful poppies. It's just breathtaking if we have a good wildflower season. And then the beaches are beautiful. Just enjoy the beach. And people do swim in the summer, but snorkeling is not the best there. Most people snorkel at Scorpion or Anacapa for good snorkeling. But Santa Rosa, you can go camping there. There's about 1.5 miles from the beach is a campground with these wall units to protect you from the wind that blows there through the canyon, and there's running water and flush toilets, which we have only vault toilets on the other vessels, on the other islands. So that's a nice thing. But it's a pretty island. Summer can be rough, but fall can be beautiful. Beautiful time of year to go camping at Santa Rosa or go for the day. I recommend camping because then you can see everything. You can hike to the other side of the island. You can enjoy the beach. You have lots of choices of things to do. Whereas we only go 3 days a week there, where we go to Santa Cruz every day. We only go 3 days a week there until we get another boat, which will be in 2028. Another
Well,
vessel.
congratulations in advance on that. And I just throw this out again to the audience. If you are going to take that trip, Cherryl would prefer that you packed light and did not pack everything, including the kitchen sink, so that it's not as challenging on the crew. And I've watched the crew unload dozens of times going out there, and it is amazing how much people will bring. And I'll say, how long are you staying? Overnight. Really? Because you could move here based on what you've brought.
Yeah.
But okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. All right.
Wh-
Who's next?
Well, and then on the way home, we'll go into the Painted Cave before we come back to Ventura. So that's
Oh, you
another way to
do?
get to Painted Cave.
That's a regular part of your trip out there to Santa
Yes,
Rosa?
every time. It's bad weather. Mhm, yeah. So most of the time we can get in the cave. So the other one is San Miguel, smaller island, very small, a little bit bigger than Anacapa, a little bit bigger than Santa Barbara Island. Unique though. I just love that island. It's beautiful. It's about a 3.5 hour boat ride though, and then we anchor in Kyler's. And then we have to skiff you ashore in a small boat and hope the weather's good. We've had a lot of big swells this summer and fall. We haven't been able to get people on the island. If we have, most of the time it's a wet landing and waves come right onto the beach there. And you have to hike through the sand dunes with your gear to your campground. You have to hike up the trail. It's not for everyone. You got to be a good rugged backpacker for that one. It's a 1.5 miles up to the top of the bluff. It's a saddleback trail that's very steep and overlooks the whole coast of the island. It's beautiful, but the wind blows like nobody's business there. Beautiful place. Juan Cabrillo Monument's there. There's a cross. They feel he passed away there. So they have a monument there of him, of Juan Cabrillo. The caliche forests are these petrified trees that have died from this calcified from the sand and the wind and the moisture and the up there on the top of the island. So that's pretty fun. Looks like you're on the moon. It's about a 3 mile hike to do that. We do have 2 day trips a year. We have one this Saturday. It's full. We had one last Saturday I was signed up for and it got canceled. So you never know when you can go. But this Saturday looks like it's going to be an epic day out there for the visitor. But you're on the shore for 3 hours. So it's a quick trip, but it's an adventure.
So normally you're going out, dropping people off to camp and then come back and pick them up.
Yep, most of the time that's what we do there, and we don't run very often just because it's a lot of work. So we do offer it for the visitor, but it's just for certain people that want that adventure. Some people can get shuttled from Miguel to Rosa and then stay at Rosa for a few more nights. So there are some shuttles back and forth. The only shuttle I don't have is from Santa Cruz to Anacapa yet, but you can do shuttles too on a good day.
Okay.
And then yeah, now San Miguel also has that only place largest group of pinnipeds is on the west end of San Miguel Island near Tyler's Bight over there. You can hike 8 miles from your campground with a ranger over to the other end and see these sea lions all on one beach, a whole variety of different sea lions. The Guadalupe fur seal, the elephant seals, the California sea lion, so many, the harbor seals. There's a whole variety there that you can sit and watch them all breeding and living on this big beach. It's beautiful, but only if you're camping. So that's the highlights of San Miguel. Diving is fun
Sounds like
too.
great highlights.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a half moon bay that's just gorgeous. It looks like Cancun. It's just beautiful there. Our pictures on our website don't justify it, but it is very pretty. I recommend doing the day trip, if anything, if you're not a camper. But so that's pretty much the islands that we do go to. Now, Santa Barbara Island, we love Santa Barbara Island. It was our original place we used to go to. I remember my childhood chasing bunny rabbits on the island, It's a small island with lots of elephant seals. It's a beautiful island, but small, like Anacapa, but all one island instead of 3 pieces of an island. It's all one. It's a 5 mile radius that you could hike, but the pier washed away almost 3 years ago. So they've rebuilt it. It didn't work well. So they're still working on a plan to rebuild that pier again. And we need that pier so we can start taking people there. We're hoping next year we might be able to start going again there.
But until the pier's fixed, you're not heading out there.
Well, you can go with Channel Islands Restoration. They have been very persistent with us to go there. So we finally start taking them there, but we have to tell them it's a skiff landing. It's unpredictable. You may not be able to land. It's dangerous. We just can't risk anybody getting hurt. So it's not something we do regularly because it could easily happen. So we do have some trips to Channel Islands Restoration. It's a work project membership organization that you can pull up on the website and sign up. I'm a member. It's fun. They'll let you know when there's some special trips going on. They go to San Nicolas Island, so for work trips. So I recommend them. They're pretty neat organization.
All right. Now, does Island Packers, you also do whale watching and you do some bird trips?
Mm-hmm.
And is everything Ventura County based?
Oxnard and Ventura. So Oxnard is Anacapa Island and the shoreline cruises of Anacapa that don't land. So that's what we do out of Oxnard. Out of Ventura is everything else because it's just easier. It's an hour boat ride to Scorpion, hour and 15 minutes, 2 hours to Prisoners, 3 hours to Santa Rosa, 3.5 to San Miguel, 3 hours to Santa Barbara Island.
Okay. All right. Now, you personally, are you a diver or a naturalist
I'm a
or
scuba diver, but I've retired from that. I'm just a free diver now. Too much work for me. But
I kind I kind of got to the
yes,
same place about 5 years ago. I've been diving since 72 and I just thought, you know what? I'm good now. I've done my
it's a
dives
lot of
and
work. And water's cold, and we have I can hop on a boat anytime I want and enjoy it and go out diving. I love kayaking in the sea caves. It's my favorite hobby when I
okay.
have time. When I
Okay.
retire, though, I will become a volunteer. I plan to be a naturalist with the people. I would want to go out and do the hikes more often. I don't get on the islands as much as I'd love to. I did
Which
have
is
a private
ironic,
boat.
since you run a company that goes out there every day.
Yeah. Well, you run a business. Now that we've got the new contract, it's a lot more work. So, my brother retired. So this has been family owned. My brothers and I started with my father and my mother. My father passed at 87. My mother passed in 2020. And then, slowly but surely, the family stopped running the business because it was a challenge for many years. So it ended up just being me and Mark and my mother running it. And then my mother passed, and so it was my brother and I. And now Mark retired last year when we got the new contract. He left me. So I was not happy, but I understand. So now it's me and one of my longest term employees, Alex Brody, as my partner with Island Packers. And it's a whole new thing. And it's going well, but it's a lot of work. We're real happy to get people out, and as it keeps growing, people want to get away. It's a hidden secret that people want to get away, and have
Well, and
fun.
it's a fantastic thing. So you mentioned a new vessel in 28, but what what are the plans you can share with us that you're looking at for the future? What changes are coming up with you or the national park or climate change or what are we looking at in the future?
Well, we want to expand more. We can't really grow anymore in Ventura, so we'd like to see expanding in Channel Islands Harbor more. We have the vessel Vanguard, which is the oldest of our fleet running still, and my son drives that boat, third generation. So that's exciting that, he's still part of the business, but he's a heck of probably one of our best captains, of course. But we do have out of Oxnard, we could grow out of Channel Islands Harbor, and it's my goal is to see that happen and bring a boat down there to do more trips to Santa Barbara Island, Anacapa, Santa Cruz, and then have something out of Ventura, and then Santa Barbara, we'd like to see that too, Santa Barbara Harbor. So that's the goal with the new vessel. But we haven't pushed the button and ordered it yet. We're still designing it. We still have to make sure everything is set up with the Coast Guard with all the requirements, but it'll be partly hybrid vessel that's required. So there's a lot of things we still need to work out.
Well,
So
that's great. Good luck with that. When you vacation, where do you go?
I'm sorry.
When you vacation, where do you go? What's a vacation for you?
Vacation is far away. I go to Baja and go pet whales.
Oh, is that right? I'm
Yep.
interviewing a gentleman in a couple of weeks. His name is Taylor Butts. He works on the Nat Geo Lindblad cruise vessels,
Yeah.
and he does some work down in Baja. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about is the gray whales. I was on a vessel that he was on, a Nat Geo trip in Alaska in June. We got to see both grays and humpbacks while we were up there. And we got to talking about, February and the calving and everything taking place in Baja. So I plan to go down and hang out with him. And he's going to be
Good.
on the show, I think 2 weeks from today.
When are you going down there?
Well, I'm hoping to go in February. It just kind of depends on travel because I'm working on another book that's about mammals and raptors, and I have all these trips I have to take, and I'd like to sneak that one in if I can, but I already know in February I'm going to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan for snowy owls and a couple other things.
Well,
My guess is after I interview him in a couple of weeks, I'll get fired up about it again.
yeah, I'm going in February and March, taking employees, and then in March going with some couple girlfriends. It's life changing to see these whales right up at the boat, and you can touch them, and it's not hurting them. They're just happy to say hello. It's a
It is
amazing experience.
spectacular. We mentioned, I think we did this before we started on the podcast, talking about Bill Brisby out at Moore Park College, and you knew him, and I studied under him back in the early '70s, and we did a lot of work off of Rincon Island back when it was owned by Atlantic Richfield, and we were doing an environmental impact study in exchange for them providing us with equipment. And we used to go out and we would swim with the humpbacks. When they would come through, we'd take a Zodiac out. There'd be three of us on there. There'd be a spotter, a captain, and a diver, and you'd rotate over the course of the
Fun.
day. And so
What a
you'd
hoot.
get five. Matter of fact, my producer, the person who produces this show, this goes back to 1972, was one of those who was with me. We did these things together. And
Lucky you.
oh my goodness, Cheryl, it's 50 years later and it feels like it was yesterday. It is. There is something about marine mammals, whether it's the elephant seals in San Simeon or the stellars up in Oregon or, whatever. There's something
Yep.
about it.
Yep. It is.
Go ahead, please.
I wanted to tell you, one of my captains, his father was the originator that started petting whales in Baja. His Pancho Marial, he's my one of my captains. His father was originator, so they were fishing out in the lagoons, and these whales just kept coming up to them, and they were afraid, and they weren't sure what to do. And then they started petting them. So he has his own whale camp down there. That's where I'm going. My captain has a whale camp down there from his father that started it. And his father's gone, but so I go down there every year, just to do that. And he has a whale camp, and you're set up pretty nice. You got food and trips twice a day. His legendary history is another person you might enjoy interviewing someday.
I might. I will talk to you about that offline.
Yeah,
And
you
I
would
also
love
want
it.
to talk to you about going down there because it may very well is probably something I need to do. How about, I'm going to ask you about a book, and you sent me a notice in advance, so thank you for that, but we'll still bring them up and share with the audience. But before we get to that, the next to last thing would be, what are a couple of your favorite stories of trips? The magnificent days with the common dolphins, or the huge pod of orcas, or the storm, or what are some of the
Mhm.
exciting things that have happened? I mean, you've been doing this since you were 12, so it's at least 20 years. There have to have been
Yeah,
things that have happened.
there's so many experiences that I remember, but one I really remember well, and now that I understand why they do it, but the humpbacks. I was with my girlfriends on our company boat. I mean, I've had my private boat to the islands for many years. We'd have whales around the boat, and it's just, I love it. But nothing like this, where we saw 6 come up out of the water and do the lunge feeding.
Oh, the bubble net
Well,
feeding?
they came up out of the water, their heads come up, and they opened their mouths and then fed the water through and then went back down, and they synchronized all together, and I just couldn't believe why they did that. How did they do that? And one of my captains shared with me that, and he worked in Alaska, and they have a microphone underwater on those ships in the Glacier Bay National Park, and they have this microphone underwater, and the whales are talking, and they talk together and say, okay, 1, 2, 3, let's go. I mean, that's basically what they're doing, and they're synchronizing together. I don't know why. I don't know what, maybe to catch more of the krill. I don't know what the reason is, but
Well,
I'm not a whale specialist.
what I learned when I studied is what they synchronize is they form a wall of bubbles underneath the water
Bubble
that
feed.
locks in the fish. And then at the appropriate time, they all come up through that. It's
That
virtually a net,
makes
except
sense.
it's made out of bubbles. And and I have to tell you, Cheryl, I just interviewed a couple days ago a gentleman named David Rothenberg for one of the podcasts. And David is an interesting man. He is a philosopher and a clarinetist. And his fame in the world is that he plays clarinet with humpback whales. So he travels around the world, drops microphones underwater, and plays the clarinet, and the humpback whales sing back to him. And
Oh,
they have actually synced up. He also does it with birds. He just spent a year in Germany doing the nightingales in Berlin. And then humpback whales are one of his most popular, but it's amazing what he's done, this study of music and rhythm with humpback whales.
that's amazing.
And
That's fun. How exciting.
yeah, later today, I'm creating, at the end of each show, I do something called field notes. I'll do an 8 or 10 minute segment on something. And the one that I'm producing today for him includes some of the performances that he's done. And I will send you a link with some of those
Yes.
so that you
Yes.
can hear them. But to hear a clarinet and humpback whales is just remarkable. I mean, I had him on the show. We were going to talk about birds, and he also does insects, and he does a number of things but we wound up just spending the whole hour on humpback whales. So I have to have him back on to talk about some other stuff, but I think you'd be
Yeah.
fascinated. Okay, I had promised you an hour and we're coming up against it. So before I let you go, I ask each of my guests to recommend a book. So many of my guests are authors. I have to have them recommend a book that isn't theirs, but that they believe. And you sent me two that you wanted to mention. Do you need me to prompt you on those or do you have them memorized?
Yeah, the one with the book about the Channel Islands National Park, that book is great for anyone that just wants to know a little bit about the Channel Islands. It has a little bit of information of each island, so you get a feel of what interests you. It's a nice tabletop coffee table book to have for guests,
Okay.
but just simple. That's really very popular. It's a second edition by Susan Lamb, I believe is her name.
Yes, and it's just called Channel Islands National Park. Okay.
Yes. And then the other book, The Diary of the Sea Captain's Wife, is just, I love it. I can read it again and again. You get out there, put yourself back in time. Imagine living on an island, you know, surviving. Pelican
And it's
Bay
with
has the
Santa Cruz
remnants.
Island, right?
Yes. And
She
Pelican
lived
Bay
on
has the
Santa Cruz.
remnants of the hotel there where she tried to have a hotel on that. So there's a lot of neat history of her lifestyle. And it's just her diary, which is kind of fun. You can put it down and then it gets tiring sometimes and you have to put it back up. And just imagine being on an island like that and trying to survive with nothing.
It's pretty amazing. And I've studied Santa Cruz a little bit. I wrote years ago, I used to write Westerns. I wrote Western novels and I wrote a series, the Brock Clemens series. And at one point, I had them take a year and go out in the late 60s and ranch on Santa Cruz Island. So I did research on who actually owned the island then and what it was like, and then
Mhm.
had them go live out there for a year and
Yeah.
and do the ranching. So it's a neat thing for me. It's a little bit of a full circle to hear you talking about the island.
Yeah. And so the visitor center for the national park is great. It's closed right now, but there is a new museum that opened that my brother and his wife that runs the Santa Cruz Island Foundation, the nonprofit that resource history of the Channel Islands for all these years. She lived on the island with Dr. Stanton. She's written many books and published books, but they built a museum that's I highly recommend people to come see. It's called the Christmas Museum in Carpinteria. It's only open. It's open every day except Sunday and Monday, and very short hours, 10 to 2. But it's totally great. It has all the history of all the people, all the heritage of the people that own the islands in the past before they became national parks.
Oh, that's fantastic. And what's the name of the museum again?
Chrisman Museum,
Okay.
Chrisman.
All right. Well, just like I'll do with your website, I'll throw theirs up on the
Yeah,
screen so that people can do that. I'm going to put my email up here. If you've got questions for me, send me a note. If you've got questions for Cheryl, send me a note, and I'll forward it to her, and we'll go from there. And one of the things that I ask Cheryl of the audience at the end, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to it on Apple or Spotify, great. But if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor and subscribe, leave a comment or hit like. The more people we get watching this, the more we can get the message out, which is what we want to do. And the more guests we can bring in. There's no ads or anything. This is all on my nickel and I'm thrilled to do it. But please do that. I'm going to do a field notes as I always do when I'm done here. And as I wrap up, Cheryl, I want to say thank you very much. And I really appreciate you being here. And as I tell my guests at the end every time, when you're out there in nature and you're hiking or fishing or swimming or hunting or whatever it is you're doing, stay safe and stay curious. Have a great day. Thank you, Cheryl.
thank you. Thank you for giving me the time. Thank you so much,
You
Scott.
bet. Hello and welcome to this edition of Field Notes. I'm Scott Harris, the host of Naturally Scott podcast and of the Field Notes, which we do one of following every podcast. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite animals, foxes. More specifically, we're going to talk about the island foxes of the Channel Islands off the coast of Southern California. And even more specifically, there are 6 endemic subspecies on 6 different islands. So these little foxes, which are unique to the Channel Islands, are also unique to each of these 6 islands: San Miguel, Santa Rosa, Santa Cruz, Santa Catalina, San Nicolas, and San Clemente. Now, the foxes are very similar, but they are different enough that they're considered subspecies. And so it is a neat little thing. They are the smallest wild canine in North America. They are the size of a house cat. They weigh 4 or 5 pounds. They're a third the size of a gray fox on the mainland. And their evolution has been lightning fast. They were brought to the islands by human beings somewhere between 9,000 and 16,000 years ago. Of course, you don't know exactly when, but sure enough, they were. And they have done that evolution and all these changes in that period of time. Let's call it 12 or 13,000 years, which is a blink of an eye from an evolutionary point of view. And so it is amazing that these little guys have changed and become unique on each island, and don't change islands and don't crossbreed. The changes aren't dramatic, but enough so that biologists separate them out. Now, we almost lost them. So bald eagles were nearly wiped out years ago because of DDT and the problems with their eggs and a whole different situation. But when they were pretty much decimated from the islands, they were replaced by golden eagles. Now, golden eagles and bald eagles can live in the same habitats, but bald eagles are the dominant bird between the two. And so when the bald eagles were there and in numbers and in strength, the golden eagles didn't show up. Bald eagles fish. And so as the fish were disappearing, so did the bald eagles. Golden eagles moved in. Golden eagles are not fishermen. They attack things like mammals, and they hunted the foxes. They thought the foxes were an ideal meal. And so they were wiping out the foxes. But when we banned DDT and bald eagles came back in strength, they went back and reclaimed their islands, forced the golden eagles off, and did not hunt the foxes. So the foxes came back. Now, what do foxes hunt? They hunt deer mice, they hunt voles, they'll take young birds on occasion, reptiles like lizards and small snakes. They will eat fruit and seeds. And on Santa Cruz Island, which we're going to talk mostly about, they will eat people food. We're not supposed to feed them, but we do. As recently as 20 years ago, they were very endangered. This was back at the heyday of the golden eagles. It didn't look like they were going to make it, but a combination of trading out bald eagles for golden eagles, vaccinations to the population, and some captive breeding, we were able to bring the island foxes back. And in 2016, they were removed from the endangered species. They're back. They're full to go. So they are fast to evolve and they are fast to recover. Now, if we focus on Santa Cruz Island, not that the foxes are dramatically different than they are on the other 5 islands, but it is the island where they're seen the most often and have the most interaction with people. So we're going to talk about that. Part of that is they're just not afraid of people. They've spent so much time around people, and we don't really harm them except for feeding them things we shouldn't, that there's no fear. They'll walk right up to you. And I'll throw a picture up here of the landing at Scorpion Landing. That's where they're the most popular and the most tame. They'll come right up to people that are eating lunch. They'll sniff in their backpacks. They'll beg for food. They're cute. It's hard to say no. It's the right thing to do, but it is hard to say no. It's hard not to toss them a piece of your sandwich or a bite of your apple, but you're not supposed to. It's not healthy for them overall. The little guys are territorial. Now, their territory is tiny. It's usually less than a square mile. They are monogamous as long as both living. They like to stay together and without others. And they have 2 to 5 pups every spring on average. They are a huge draw to Santa Cruz. They are one of the reasons that people like to go out there and spend a day trip. You get off the boat, you walk to the pier, you go up into the picnic area, and you sit down, and the odds are you're going to see island foxes. And if you don't see them right there, if you just take a short half-mile hike, you're going to see island foxes. I was just there in April. I went to see the island foxes and the island scrub jays. Island scrub jays are endemic to Santa Cruz Island. And I was able to see both. And you guys are looking at pictures up there during the course of this. All the shots of the island foxes that are up there are from Santa Cruz Island. Among the 6, they are the mid-sized. It is estimated that there are 2,500 island foxes on Santa Cruz Island. Santa Cruz is the biggest of the Channel Islands National Park islands. And it is estimated that they are also the largest population and the healthiest population. So they're doing very well. They have no natural predators now that the golden eagles are gone, which is great. It has been reported on rare occasions that a snake or a raptor or even a raven might take a tiny little island fox pup, which is what we call the babies. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And so I'm telling you, if you get a chance, and this is following the podcast with Cherryl Connally of Island Packers, if you get a chance to take an Island Packers trip out to Santa Cruz Island, it is so worth it for so many reasons, but the island foxes are one of them. You're looking at one now, man. They're just darling. They're fun and they're tame. So they'll sit there and let you take their picture, and they'll come up and beg for food, and they're all over the island, and it is an absolute treat. So if you get a chance, get out there. Thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. If you're watching me on YouTube, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It's a huge help to us. It gets us out to a larger audience and it brings in more guests. We don't have ads in the thing, so you're not going to get inundated by anything, but it does help. The way the YouTube algorithms work, the more people that comment, the more people that like, the more people that subscribe, they'll help push our podcasts out and we can see them. And as I share with you every time, and I mean it seriously, number one, get outside, man. Just start seeing things in your backyard, in your neighborhood park, or take trips if time and money allow. But there is so much to see out there. And when you are out there, stay safe and stay curious. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.